Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. On today's podcast, I have guests, plural. I have a mother-daughter team, Mary Phillips and Callye Phillips. Mary is the owner of Phillips Window Workroom, which is a custom drapery and soft home furnishings workroom in Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. Mary's been in the industry for over 40 years, first starting it with upholstery with her sister-in-law, and then creating relationships with clients and vendors, and then she ended up going off on her own. And she's going to talk about the story of growing her business and moving around and where it started and where it is now. Mary has 3 children. She'll talk about that. And family is extremely important to Mary. We talked about what she wants to be doing with her time, as well as fabricating and sewing. Mary's daughter, Callye, is 26 years old. She grew up in and out of the workroom. And through the years, she has really appreciated that her mom was able to support her in sporting events and could be there when she needed her because Mary's hours were flexible. When we talk about flexible, doesn't mean they're shorter hours. It just means they're different. Callye went to Westchester University and finished just as the pandemic hit, and she didn't really have a plan. So she spent a year and a half nannying and then decided to join the Phillips Window Workroom team. And she just celebrated 3 years with them. We talk about how she enjoys the creative process. She loves to work with customers, and she loves putting things together for clients. Outside of the workroom, Callye is a volleyball coach. She still plays, and she loves spending time with her family and friends. Family is just as important to her as it is to Mary. And she has 3 beautiful nephews. It will soon be 4. We talk about that a little bit too. And it just was really fun to talk with the 2 of them about how the journey has brought them where they are now and what the 2 of them want for their futures. So I really hope that you enjoy hearing from Mary and Callye today. Mary and Callye, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really been looking forward to this conversation.
So have we. Thank you for inviting us to it.
Thank you.
Well, I watched your workroom tour on the Workroom channel, which is on YouTube, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And geographically, you're not very far from me, but I have not been over that way in a while. I'm going to have to make sure I get there. I just enjoyed that view of your workroom so much and hearing part of your story, and I really wanted to share it with everyone else. So, Mary, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in the world, and a little bit about how you got started in this business.
Okay, where I am in the world is I've been doing this for 41 years. I am now a grandmother of 3 and 1 on the way, which I watch them on Fridays, which I absolutely love. I started off, actually, I worked at an insurance company, Cigna, and my sister-in-law was doing upholstery, and I lived on their 3rd floor in their house.
Okay.
They had an apartment, and she started asking me to help her. And I had learned how to sew from my mom, and of course, we had sewing in middle school and high school.
Some of us had that.
Some of us had that way back when, which was awesome. And so I always loved it. I loved to macrame. I loved to embroider. Always did that. Had all these fun little things. And then people started asking us to do window treatments. And she said, why don't you quit your job? And so her and I were partners.
Okay.
For about 5 years until my son was born. And he's perfectly fine, but he was very sick.
Okay.
So we had to split up because I had to be home. Mm-hmm. And she loved the upholstery and I loved the window treatment. So it was a great fit. And I could give her leads and she could give me leads. Yeah. And so I started out of the basement of my house.
Okay.
And then we moved And I worked in one room and then two rooms. I just kept expanding and expanding. And my husband was like, we have to get all this out of the house. It's way too much. And rods. And I got a hotel job. And it was like, what am I doing? So he found me a place where we are now in Chadds Ford. Mm-hmm. It's a little room. And I used to make costumes for my son's school and the plays. And I met Robin Venuti, who was my partner for 20 years. Okay. So she came to work with me part-time, ended up never part-time, and we just kept expanding, and then we moved over to where we are now, and then we took the back room on, and then we were doing work for like Ethan Allen and Calico Corners, and just got bigger and bigger, and that's how I'm here.
No, 2 daughters.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had, a son. And I have 2 daughters. My son's at JP Morgan, and my middle daughter, Michelle, is at QVC.
Okay.
And then Callye is our baby. Not so.
Callye, I'm married to the only son in an Italian family.
Oh.
So okay. I feel your pain there. Oh, right, Mom, you have daughters too.
That's right, I do, and they're wonderful.
We have a big family.
We have a very big family. My parents are still living, which is fantastic. They're 91 and 92, and they're doing great. And I'm one of 6.
Okay.
And we did lose one, but we're all live in the same area, and we're all away together, and we all just have a great time. So I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate.
Mary, a lot of the stories that people share are not unlike yours. They start out, you're working out of the space in the home. It gets to be too much. But I love that even from the get-go, you said you watch your grandkids on Friday. You've balanced your business around your life. And I know that it sometimes meant late nights and things like that. So I'm not implying that you're working part-time by any stretch.
Right. I'm here at 7:30. I usually am done by 6:30, 4 days a week.
Okay.
So yes, it's a lot, but I love it. And this is a flexible business, but you do have to make up for it. It's not.
Yes, at some time.
I mean, all the time, all my neighbors, you're so lucky. Gosh, you get to work out of your house. You can make your own hours. But I'm sure you know how that is.
We may be able to make our own hours. It's more like choose which hours we're going to work, not which hours we're off. So as your business was growing, how many employees do you have right now?
So right now we are down to 3. Okay. We're looking, a lot have retired.
Yeah.
My business partner retired November 22. And I just had about 3 months ago, another good employee just retire. So I'm getting to that point and trying to find young people that want to make a career out of that. And it's been a struggle. I'm not going to lie. I think it seems like it's a dying art until I watch all the classes that Susan Woodcock and all of them do, and I think, wow, there they are.
Yes.
Here. But that has been my struggle. We've gone through about 4 people this summer, and we just haven't found the right person that really wants to make a career out of this, so I can maybe cut down.
So Callye, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started working with your mom.
I'm 26. I grew up in and out of the workroom, so I was here when I was younger, and she would pay me as I would get to clock in and think I was like all special. And once a summer get like a fun paycheck. But so I would watch and kind of shadow. She used to have some employees that were here for like ever. They were basically like other aunts to me, like Mimi and Sharon and all. So they would teach me things that I wish I remembered a little more now. But yeah, so I'd be in and out. I played volleyball, and I went to Catholic school until I was a freshman, and then I transferred to public school, which I liked getting the best of both of those. And then I went to Westchester University, so I stayed close to home. And then it was the pandemic in 2020, and was finishing up at Westchester, so I started nannying, and I did that for a year and a half, a cute little girl, Riley. And then they needed help. They were really busy for the pandemic because everybody was in their homes looking at everything. So, and I know I hear a lot on the podcast of people with the pandemic and things changing a lot for their business. So I feel like it was just a busy time for them and they needed help. And I think I was ready. I didn't really have a plan as to what I was going to do. I just knew I didn't want to be in a cubicle. And so I came here as the office manager. And yeah, I'm still here. It's been 3 years.
And she does so much more. I mean, the customers that will come in, we do mostly wholesale, but we do retail. Of course, we have to. She helps them pick out their fabrics, colors, and they just love her. She's doing so well with that. I'm starting to think, maybe I need another office manager, because that's a lot, checking in all the hardware, and you have to check it in right away because now there's return policies if it's not checked within 10 days and things like that. So
right.
And doing the estimates and ordering all the fabric. So it's a lot. So I'm starting to try to figure out what I'm looking for to hire and maybe gear her more towards helping selling and doing that part. She does the blinds and so I'm still trying to figure it out.
But yeah, so I mean, I enjoy it. I really like working with the customers and all. But one thing that I always admired was that she was able to come to, like we talked about with the schedule, she was able to come to my volleyball games and she was able to help out. She was able to leave at 3:30 one day if I, or if I needed to go to a doctor's appointment. She was always around. So I admire that, and it is nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
Although it sometimes puts you in a pinch, but so I enjoy it. I mean, working with your mom is ups and downs.
Sure. Families,
I'm always careful about these questions because your mom is sitting right next to you. But
it's fine. I've heard them all.
My daughters would never consider working with me. So
it can be a struggle. I mean, it's not. You always want more for your kids to do more and better, or you think they should read your mind, and so it does get some days a little hairy, but for the most part, we're figuring it out.
Callye, do you feel like your mom can take her mom hat off while you're working? Does she allow you to be good at what you're good at?
Yes, I think it took a little while for her to delegate things. And just let go. But now she has been doing QuickBooks and stuff, which is a relief on her because, she has to sew and then having to do all the invoicing and all that. So I'm happy to be helping with that. But yes, I mean, I think the flexibility of letting me go out and measure, that was, you don't want to be going out. It's just, that's been a big help because once Robin retired, she was the one who was going out and measuring and all. So doing that, that's a big trust that she has. And
because that's a big deal as a fabricator, is knowing that your measurements are accurate. And for me personally, sometimes it's the visual. I was there, I saw it. So trusting that someone else is going to be able to communicate to me everything that I would absorb when I'm there, that would be a big thing to let go of for me personally. So I'm impressed by that.
I still question it though. Are you sure it's 65 wide and 32 long? I mean, are we sure? Is that right? She always takes a picture, pictures are of every window, which is huge.
Yes.
So that's a big help.
So we talked a little bit about, it's families. Does your business carry into your family time?
Not too much. I'm not gonna lie. I check my emails at night, so I might say, "Did you answer this, or do you want me to respond to that?" Or, "Oh, did you see we just got this order?" So I might. We have a 2-car garage, and it's got like an apartment above it, and Callye lives in the apartment with her boyfriend Sean. So we see her. I see her all day at work, and see her at night. So yes, I will. And sometimes she'll bring work home at night, and we'll sit at the table and do some estimates and the yardage together. So it does a little bit, but
but for the most part, again, Fridays we watch the grandchildren, and we prioritize family. Before work, I would say.
Okay.
But side note, I just looked at an apartment last night, and we're fingers crossed we'll get it.
And listen, a little distance is never a bad thing.
Right.
But it would put some boundaries around when you could work together.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing either. I mean, this has been convenient, but it doesn't mean that it should continue all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's interesting because when I spoke with the Angel family, Ralph and Taylor Angel.
I love Ralph.
The whole family is in the business.
Oh, right.
When they're all together, it's constantly about it. You have other children who are not in the business. So I could see them going, guys, we're not working right now. We don't care about this.
Right.
I know my sister will be like, you guys have like inside jokes and stuff. And like, I'm not. Or you guys are like, bickering about it. So
one or the either laughing or bickering.
Yeah. We all do, like even as a family. I mean, I have 44 are total close family with my siblings and nieces and nephews and great. But we always are asking about each other's jobs too. So they'll say, how's business? And we talk, my one niece works for anthropology, and we always saying like, how's business? And like QVC, what's going on? So we all still ask questions about the business and stuff.
Right. But it's not necessarily about your business. It's sharing your lives.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mary, you've been in business for a long time and you've seen a lot over the years. What have been some of the biggest challenges for you in your business?
I'm huge on communicating. Like I'll call my designers 10, 20 times because I don't want to do it wrong.
Okay.
And to me, that's like been a challenge because they get busy. They get, well, I don't know. I think it is. And so that's actually been a challenge for me. A lot of them, most of them respect that I want to do it right the first time. Like, did you see, was there something on the other side? That's been a challenge. I mean, I did great, like I said, with having great employees for so long, but then they started to retire. And that has been a struggle, and work ethics versus what mine are versus what others are, has been huge for me to try to get used to.
Yeah.
Deadlines have always been a huge challenge because I would stay up till 4 a.m. to get a job done before I would say, sorry, that's just the way I am.
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard because everything is, I need it by this date. I need it by that date.
Yeah.
And fabric, and fabric being back ordered, or the rods didn't come in. And so that's kind of a challenge. I would love to say I'm organized. I think this is a hard business. I'm better since I've had Callye.
She didn't roll her eyes. She did not. Her face just kind of went blank for a half a second. Like, I'm not saying anything.
But I think it's hard because you try to get all the information up front, but things straggle in and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, I went back and measured and now changed the length to and just making sure you get all that done is frustrating. So because they'll do a work order, but then they'll email or some will try to text me.
Yes.
I tell all my designers, do not text me anything that you want in a work order that you've changed or anything, because I have an email and I have record of it and I see it every morning, or Callye sees it and can update it, but that still happens. So those are all challenges. I really love to sew. People are like, you love to sew? I truly love to sew. It's relaxing to me. I love to create things. I love the measuring, the matching, so all the added stuff like QuickBooks, checking things in and doing all that is not a thrill for me.
Mary, it's interesting because you might be one of the first people who I've spoken to who has grown their business and been in business this long, who really wants to stay part of the fabrication end of it because that's the part that they love. And I think that's the book, The E-Myth Revisited, that was the part I always struggled against. But the sewing is what I want to do. It's not the QuickBooks and it's not the managing and it's not the rest of it. But you've managed to do both. And I think that's probably one of the things that makes you a little more of a unicorn, that so many of the people I know who have grown their businesses end up not fabricating anymore because they're running the business. And that's great if that's what you want. But if your strength and your talents are best in the workroom, then working with your daughter and having her do some of the other things is great.
Right. I mean, I truly it's funny because like Janelle, every conference at the end, they did the slip cover challenge. Who could be? And I always said, you should do like a box pleat valance or a Roman shade. I'll do that. I can do it with my eyes closed. Of course, I've been doing it for a long time. So that's what I enjoyed and getting it done. And my mind just works with the cutting, the mat, so I truly don't enjoy the
business
QuickBooks and that. And two, everything takes so much longer. Like if there's a problem in my QuickBooks online and I have to call them, and then that takes 2 hours of my day, and anything, it just seems like it takes so much longer than before. So
the technology has improved so much, but at the same time, because I spent 45 minutes on a conference call this morning with my web person because I'm having trouble with a Gmail account. And I'm like, all I want to do is email people. Why is this so difficult?
Right.
And in 45 minutes, I could have made a panel downstairs in my workroom.
Right. And that's exactly how I feel. I could be making money instead of losing money on the phone for 2 hours. So true.
But that is true. And I hear a lot about in the podcasts and with you, and I also listen to Luann and talking a lot about how they've stepped away from the fabrication as they grow and all. But yes, she wants to stay in it.
Yeah, I tell Callye, you find somebody like me, because eventually I will retire, let's face it. And I'll work for you 2 days a week, 3 days a week, That's all. I'll come in, sew, and leave. You guys do everything else.
So, Callye, for you, what are some of the challenges of you grew up in this business, but it's the details and you're doing measuring, you're doing office admin stuff. Are you doing any fabricating?
Not too much, no. I mean, I help out. So like Grace, who works here, she's she does mostly the panels and all, but we have her doing cushions and pillows sometimes. But like yesterday, I helped her do the pleating for panels, and I help her fan fold. Like I do more of the, I guess, what do you call those? Like the help. What is
Like the side hems.
Yeah, side hems.
Like I'll have her pin the side hems. I mean, Callye did sew, and when she was the only one that wanted to. My other daughter did not. And so I did send her to a camp for 2 weeks. And so she can sew, but
yeah,
that's not her love.
I like the serging. I do the serging for panels, or I help with cutting lining. Like more of the, I guess, the admin of the panels rather than the sewing.
Like if Grace is working on a 3.5 width pair of panels, she'll go and help her lug it around
right.
because it gets heavy, because it's blackout and interlined. And so she helps do all that, but the sewing isn't.
I do like it. It's just, I guess that would be a challenge is, you know, like I just wish I knew everything. And how to do it rather than like having to ask the questions or stuff, or like bother her or Grace to like teach me something, because we obviously are down to 3 now. So they need to be doing the fabricating and not like taking the time. So I just kind of watch and observe sometimes and try and watch videos and observe.
But we will say to her, like, okay, we saw Elkie and she had something, an easier way to do, like, you know, a Roman shade or whatever it may be. And she'll research it and then send us. So that really is helpful too.
Yeah, because that's a rabbit hole that I've gone down a couple times where I'm like, you know what, there might be a second way. I was working on some welt cord for velvet pillows, and it was such thick velvet. And I'm like, you know what, there is something on the library that shows multiple ways. And it was a method share that Janelle did, of course.
I know.
I found it, and then I realized like 20 minutes later, I was no longer looking at welt cord videos. I was looking at, I'm like, I got to get back to work here.
Exactly. And that's what I always do. But the cordless and all the child safety, that's kind of thrown me for a loop too. So Callie's researching it, and then finding where we can get the parts and who's close in the, you know, so that's been helpful, because I would be sitting there for 3 hours trying to find all the things.
Yeah, I would say another challenge has been that the child safety, as in figuring out like what the best systems are that we want to use. And then exactly having to like teach them how, well, I saw this at the conference, like because I went to CWC in October, and you obviously see so much there. So like bringing back that information, but like communicating it in a way that this is why we should use this product, versus this is why we should use that.
So her and I are going this year, so I'm going to. So
two of you can absorb, right?
Both of us can absorb.
I know.
I'm looking forward to it. Too.
What's another challenge? I mean, the same thing with communication. Sometimes I go out to measure and the designer's not there. So that's hard, because they'll be like, just measure for inside mount, outside mounts. We might do Roman shades, or we might do panels or burden. And that's just, a little frustrating sometimes, not knowing what you're specifically measuring for. And then, I don't know. I guess we make challenges into things that are, sometimes we like the challenge. So it's not always a bad thing.
Have you found any challenges due to your age being so young?
Yeah, not everything's as relatable, I think. I wish I don't know. I guess just like sometimes, and this isn't anything bad, but when her and Angela, who worked here, like they would just go back and forth about things. And I'm like, I have no clue what they're talking about. Or like when they talk about smocking tape and stuff. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
You see it once in a while, but I look around the workroom sometimes and I'm like, what is this? Like, why do we have 10 of these things? And what do they mean? And what are they used for? She's like, oh, we used to make those all the time. Like, so
the smock balloons.
I guess just not knowing some of the verbiage or the ways to use certain things. Or if she's like, go get this, I'm like, what am I getting?
Yeah. That's
But
interesting. I hadn't thought about that aspect of it. And while my workroom isn't nearly the size of yours, I just recently came across some smocking tape and a few other things
I have plenty.
in years. But trying to explain to someone else what things are for would be really challenging.
I think too, what else is hard for her is flare pleat, Euro pleat, pinch pleat. I mean, she's pretty good on, but even designers, I'm like called one of my designers and I'm, what do you mean by flare pleat?
Yeah.
Somebody else made me,
Yes.
and she's like, well, Euro. Okay. So it's a Euro. But so terminology, and I remember years and years ago, Cheryl Strickland, actually, and she had a questionnaire about what do you call, they were trying to get, remember that?
Right.
Wanted to like, what's your name for this type of valance and what's your name for this pinch pleat or, or pleat, what do you call it and everything? And everybody had different names for
right. And ultimately what we call it doesn't matter. What our client calls it is what matters.
Exactly. So that was always a struggle. And it is still like, what's a Sheffield? Do you want it straight? Do you want it curved? Do you want it? There's just a lot of different terminologies. Yeah. And I think that she's good at it, but she'll look it up. You can Google anything. Yeah. So, and find out, but it still might mean different to them. Yeah. Oh, well, this is what I saw. I just called it a flare pleat. So that's been a little challenging.
Callye, have you had any problem with being taken seriously because of your age or because of being Mary's daughter? Have you had any pushback from designers or clients thinking, oh, but you're not Mary?
Yes, a few times that has happened. I mean, overall,
in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning, then, but I think, they might have said things to her. It wasn't as much noticeable to me, but I think they would just be like, oh, well, I need to talk to Mary because I'm like, I can talk to you about it. Yeah. Or just let me know and I can ask her the question later, but she is busy right now. So I think that was a little bit because, or you would be like, no, give me the phone. I want to talk to them.
Yeah. And I try not to do that because it's very easy to just, so let me explain it. Yeah. I am trying, but it's funny you asked that because when we were first together, it was always, can I talk to Mary? Can I talk to your mother? And so I always would. And then one day I answered the phone and one of my good designers that I've known forever said, hi, how are you? Can I talk to Callye? And I went, what? What? And then I thought, oh yeah.
This is how it's supposed to be.
And that was a good feeling, like, okay, they're starting to trust her. But absolutely at the beginning, they were, well, let me talk to your mom. Like I had one designer once call and say, I think Callye figured this estimate out and it's not right. And I looked at it and I said, oh no, it's right. She did it right. You need that many yards. You need, so yes, it took a little while, but they all want her now.
Okay. That's a nice feeling, Callye.
Yeah, it is a good feeling. Sometimes I'm like,
you just talk to my mom.
Yeah, talk to my mom. Maybe she'll have a better answer. But yeah, so I mean, nothing crazy, but I think that was a challenge when someone would question it. It would be like, actually, we worked on this together, and it is right, and you don't need, Yeah. But overall, good feedback, and I really do enjoy working with the customers and designers, and it's been fun.
Okay. I'm going to ask each of you this question. Mary, what is your definition of success?
Wow. Mine is, personally, my success is when I get a picture of the finished product. That to me, and they love it.
Yeah.
That to me, or I go, wow, it does look good. That to me is the ultimate.
Okay. You don't attend, you don't install?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't ever go on the installs.
So if you don't get a photo of it, you don't know how it ended up.
Never. No.
Okay.
We have a fourth employee. We have an installer.
Yeah, Rick. Wow. Rick was my neighbor, is my neighbor, and he worked for UPS for 35 years, and he's very handy. He's flipped houses before, and he had said to me, "Are you still looking for an installer?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, that's truly is one of the hardest parts of, we didn't even go over that for the last 40 years, a challenge, They don't do high ladder. They don't, if there's a problem, they don't try to solve it. And I'm not all of them, but I've had just, my designers. Do you have another installer? Do you have somebody else I could use? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So he started in December. And my gosh, everybody loves him.
Oh, good.
He's a problem solver.
We love
And then when
that.
he's not installing, he's in here cutting all my boards, helping me with everything in here.
Awesome.
And he works 3 days a week. Although if you need me Monday or Friday.
Yeah.
But that has been just huge. Like he'll cut the pole down if it's doesn't fit exact. Right. He'll go that extra mile. Mm-hmm. So that has been such a huge help to Callye and I.
And even I was at a measure recently in an office, and I FaceTimed him while I was up. I was standing on the couch actually, and I'm like, "Hey, Rick, I just want to make sure that we can go into this, and that it'll be good." He's like, "Yep, just tap it," and he's like, "Yep, we're good, all good." So that was helpful. It's I didn't have to go back out with him or anything.
Right, right. Gosh, that's where technology, it's, Mary, you and I don't take it for granted yet. We're happy to have it, but Callye, you grew up with it, and it's just a totally different experience to be able to say to get those answers instantaneously and not have to make the second trip or not have to pay the installer for that. Although I am very happy to pay my installer to do many things for me. It's worth it.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, and you asked, people always say that you're not going to be on the installation. You're not going to be on the installation. If I'm on the installation, I'm not getting work, done. So no, I never, I shouldn't say never. When I first started, probably for 10 years, I went out on the installs, but, and I've been lucky that I've had good installers too, that I didn't need to. But if it's a difficult job while Rick was learning, Callye would go with him,
right?
Too, which is great.
Yeah. But again, you were still able to fabricate while the installation was happening.
But your question about not being able to see it done is. And now Callye takes pictures of everything, or the designers will, and send it to us. And so I get to see it. And that is
I know, I had to teach Rick.
Feeling.
I'm like, "Rick, you have to, so this is the way I took the before pictures. So when you go back, you have to stand in the same spot.
It'll look the same. Right?
You have to hold the camera like this." But no, he's great.
Yeah, so we're lucky.
Yeah.
Okay. Callye, how about you? What is your definition of success?
A lot about this question, and I think I'm still defining what success is.
That's fair.
But in this business specifically, I would say kind of the same. I mean, seeing it through from measuring, fabrication, installation, I think that's success. I mean, you just did this whole project with your hands, with your eyes, with your tape measure.
Yeah.
And I think it's really awesome. And I think success is being happy and making people happy. I feel like it's very hands-on and, working with people to solve their problems and, help them with functionality and how they live. And I just think all of that is helping them is successful. If, seeing it through from start to finish, what I said before.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great definition. I really love that.
Yeah. But yeah, still defining success.
Yeah, and I think that's
I'm only
fair.
26, and I think I feel like I'm changing every couple of years. So
Yeah. It's interesting because I think I get so many different answers to that question. And sometimes it's specifically work related and sometimes it's overall life related. But it very seldom has to do with a dollar sign, that it's
right.
more about satisfaction of a job well done. And I love the idea that your definition of success can change over time. And I'm not sure I would have had the same definition of success at 26 that I have many years later. I was going to say double, but that it's more than double.
But sometimes, I mean, I look around at nice houses, or like in Cape May, we'll be going soon. I'm like, I look at a place, I'm like, that's success. Like having this huge big house on a beachfront house. I mean,
Yeah. I do.
Decorating and designing all of that, that's success. Or like,
Yeah.
drive through mainline PA and you look at those houses.
Yes, if you're not from this area, driving through the main line can either make you aspire to greatness or feel really badly about yourself, one or the other. It's interesting because I think that we have this unique opportunity to be in some absolutely beautiful homes and spaces. And there have been times I was actually in a person's third home, and I actually realized that while they were very financially successful, they were not very personally successful. And I was more than okay with the fact that I didn't have 3 houses on that particular day.
Right.
They
Exactly.
were not the happiest of people, despite their beautiful 3 homes.
That's very true.
Yeah, I'll take seeing my customers happy most days. I want to jump in and take a moment to thank the sponsors who make it possible for me to bring you the podcast each week. My sponsors are people in the industry that I have personally had a connection to, purchased from, or used their services. So it makes it really easy for me to tell you about them and the great things that they have to offer. Because I feel so strongly about education in our industry, I'm thrilled that as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, I can use the resources of the library to help support the podcast. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. Angels Linings would like to invite you to become part of their family. With reputable lining comes exceptional customer service. Trust them with your linings like I do. You get 2 Tootsie Pops with every bolt of lining you receive. For smiles, satisfaction, and a sugar kick all around, call Angels Linings at 1-800-450-9368. The Workroom channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. If you've listened to the podcast, you know how much I've learned from Michelle Williams. And I think most of my guests have mentioned taking at least one of her classes or gotten coaching from her. Her business is Scarlet Thread Consulting. Michelle loves to work with creative business owners to help them understand all aspects of their business and to use their gifts and talents to make it profitable. Michelle is a strategic profitability coach certified in the Profit First methodology, and she can be reached at scarletthreadconsulting.com. I've also mentioned my membership with the WCAA, and I'm now a gold level sponsor, where education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to our members. The Window Covering Association of America is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry, and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. I've also been extremely fortunate to be able to work with Merrill Y. Landis Ltd. It's a family-owned and operated custom workroom and product distribution company to the trade with over 70 years of experience. And in addition to their custom work, they offer a wide variety of decorative drapery hardware. They offer Stout and Flair 21 fabrics. They have Roman shade operating systems and assembly kits. They have motorization and workroom supplies, and they serve both designers and workrooms. And you can check out the MYL Advantage at mylLTD.com. One of the things that always intrigues me in terms of a growing business is having other people working for you and how you handle mistakes. I know that we as an industry tend to be very hard on ourselves. So first of all, Mary, are you very hard on yourself? And what do you do when one of your employees makes a mistake?
Am I very hard on my...
You both smiled just a little bit on that one.
I'll let her have this one.
Yeah.
So I always was, anything's fixable, you know. Yeah, do I want to eat $200 yard fabric?
Of course not. Right.
But, you know, once I had a designer call me screaming and yelling, and I was like, calm down. What's the problem? Okay, you know, she gave me one measurement, her partner gave me a different measurement. I went with the newest one, but it was hemmable. So it was fine. Like, we'll fix it. But so I always say, like, everything's fixable. We can, and for the most part, I've never, I'm gonna knock on wood,
Quickly.
had to eat anything astronomical.
Okay.
Which is very fortunate. But I think I try to prevent things from happening before they get started.
Okay.
So I'm always double checking everything. And like, if someone writes it up, the estimate, I might look at what the designer just to make sure. So I think that's helpful. As I get older, I'm older, my patience isn't as, and that's why I'm sure Callye was smirking, my patience isn't as good. Like, if someone says, I know you told me to do it this way, but I thought it would be better this way, then I kind of go, well,
there's a reason I told you.
There's a reason why. So I do get frustrated with that. I do think this business is getting harder. Maybe it's me getting older. Prices are, you know, trying to keep up with what we charge versus all the things that you bought that are going up at any time has been difficult. You know, I'm not one to nickel and dime people to death, so I probably eat a lot of my time but mistakes, I'm okay. I mean, okay, let's do it this way, or okay, well, now you have to redo it.
Right.
I'm not as good as I used to be.
Okay.
So I should have said that from the beginning, right?
How about you, Callye? What happens? And you're still learning in this industry, so I'm curious, like, what your take on it is.
Or how she handles it, or
no, how you handle a mistake. Yours or someone else's. Like, if you're working with Rick or designer makes a mistake, or.
With myself personally, I get really upset with myself when I make a mistake because it's like either it could have been avoided, or, you know, I try and figure out the why did I do that instead of how can I make that not happen for the next time? And I think that's where I struggle a little bit. But when someone else makes a mistake, I mean, I feel like I'm over, like, oh, we'll figure it out. It's okay. It's okay. And internally, I'm like coming back to my mom, like, why the heck did they do that?
Yeah.
Or like, how did they not do that? But I think I struggle with myself making a mistake because I know it can affect my mom.
Yes.
And it's her money, it's her time. So I get really upset about that. And I think sometimes doesn't always get communicated like well enough or how it could have been avoided.
But you didn't ask me if I get upset with Callye.
Yeah.
Well, she's right there.
I probably do more than if it was someone else.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, that is true.
But I think that's a family dynamic too. I think, not unusual for families to experience that when they work together. It would be harder on her. Not that it's okay or that Callye appreciates it. Yeah, I can see that.
But again, everything's fixable or figure outable, as we say. She has a sign that says everything is figure outable that Angela gave her. And it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a way to fix 99.9% of what we have going on. It might cost us some money, but there's a way to fix it.
Well, and that's it. We know, being an owner, that it's now we've just paid for have it done. Now we're paying to have it redone, taken apart, and then redone. So you're kind of
well, and also like when something we think, oh yeah, this stuff's going out the door for an install, and then it comes back, like we just have to redo a Lamborghini.
Right, because the designer didn't go all the way back to the wall. And so, yes, that took me a couple hours to do, which you hate to charge because they give you a lot of
but as you just said, you're doing it twice and taking it apart and it went out and it's coming back. Yeah, those are tough ones, but yeah.
Remakes are my worst. That's one thing I hate doing is remaking something. So I try to get as clear as can be.
But as you said, you try to figure things out as much in advance so that doesn't happen.
Right, but and sometimes too much because I'm looking at everything. I'm questioning, why are they saying, 10 rings and it should be 8 rings? Like, why are they telling us to order, and Callie's like, well, I don't know. That's what they said. So I'm going to order what they said. But I don't want to order what they said until they clarify it with me.
Until you're sure about it. Right.
Right. And I think sometimes I need to let go of that. Like, okay, except I don't want
because
to buy extra.
Yeah, the impact is on us if it's wrong. And so therefore you are trying to mitigate that. So I did ask you about your definition of success, but I didn't ask you this. What's been the greatest success in your business so far? Is there any one particular job or circumstance that really stands out to you?
So I've done 3 hotels.
Oh, wow.
And that's, to me, that's probably been my biggest success.
Okay.
And it was good money and it was a great job. And, too, that's the thing. If you could do the same thing every day, you could do very well. Yeah. But in our business, we're doing chef fields, and box pleated valances, and pinch plated panels, and 1 width, and 1.5 width, and 2.5 width, 3.5. I mean, we go up to 5, 6 widths. You're stopping, starting. You look. If I just had to make, I think there was. One hotel was 3 floors, but it was all pinch pleated panels, pretty much all the same length and width, and cornices all the same size. So it was a really good jobs because I could just knock them out.
Okay, so I have a question for you. there's no doubt that that type of work is more profitable if you plan it all well. But as someone who loves to sew and fabricate, do you mind doing the same thing over and over
And I
again?
knew you were going to ask
Yeah.
me that.
Yeah.
I like the
You do.
diversity. I like doing different things.
Okay.
Yes.
That's where I was going with that, because I find repetitious work mind numbing, and I also love to sew. I love when I get to fabricate, but doing that just makes my mind go blank.
Yes, and I had a lot of, so they would do this part, they would do this part. I did all the cornices, they did all the panels. So, we helped each other out and did all that. But yes, doing the same thing over and over. It's even too, like when I have 5 cornices in one room.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I have 3 more left. Okay, 2 more left. Okay, now I just need all the weld on.
Right. And it's interesting because I've had conversations with people like Elke, with other workrooms around the same size as yours, where it's like, if you can find something you're really good at, make a lot of them. Like, no, no, that will make me lose my mind if I do the same thing over and over again. You're right. It's a good paycheck. And there's something for that. I did. I had an artist contact me. She had artwork that she had printed onto fabric, and I made 350 pillows.
Oh.
And I want to tell you that I never wanted to see another pillow when I was done. And it was a great paycheck. It was awesome.
Right.
But that pile never seemed to end.
And
how do you store them?
I was not filling them. I was just doing, she was having them stuffed somewhere else. So that was doable. Yeah. My workroom, I would have taken over my house if I had that many pillows.
That's a lot of pillows. But yeah, and I do enjoy like the different fabrics. Some fabrics I'm like, can't wait to get done this job.
Yes.
And then others I'm like, oh, I love this. Yeah. So that's fun too, having the different fabrics.
Yeah.
Another challenge would be storing things.
Yes.
Just like off the top of my head. Like obviously we do have a large space, but pillows is one thing that is hard to store.
Yes. Prior to making and after making.
Right. Yeah, because you have to have the fillers and keep them in stock and organized. And then once you get the orders, you have to mark who's the pillows set aside for this order, and then you have to stuff them and then package them nicely. So that was just a side note.
Mary, have you ever considered quitting?
It's funny because quitting, well, does frustration go with quitting?
Yeah.
So, I know it's a tough question because yes, I get frustrated and I think, what the heck am I doing? And but never to the point where what would I do?
Right.
So, yes, I probably have thought about it, but never ever been serious about it. Just more like, and then I get away for a couple days and
I was going to say, you just have to walk away from it.
I have to walk away from it and then I'm fine. But sure, I'm sure I have.
Okay. Callye, how about you?
Yes, but I'm more of an employee, and it's again working with my mother. So once in a while, it might be like I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna walk out the door, but I don't actually mean it, or I don't want to leave her hanging either.
It's a learning experience too. I have to be more patient. She has to be more understanding. It's different than an employee. It's totally different. And my brothers worked, like I said, for my father for years and then ended up buying his business. And it's just hard to let go of that mother daughter. It just is.
Yeah.
And someday when she has kids, I think she'll realize that too. Like I always say, I appreciated my mom, even though we always had a great relationship, but not until I had kids and I go, wait, she had 6 and we're all like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
you raised 6 of us?
Yes.
Okay, you're my hero.
I'm one of 9, Mary. And
Wow.
when my oldest daughter was born, I called my mother one day. I was very frustrated. She was probably like 16 months old. And I was really frustrated. And I was complaining to my mother. And do you know what my mother did? She laughed at me and hung up the phone.
Well, anytime I tried to explain, my mother would say, well, try it with 6.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. So you've mentioned going to the Custom Workroom Conference and looking for information. Mary, how have you educated yourself over the years? Is there anyone particular? You mentioned Cheryl Strickland. There anyone?
Yeah, that's where I started.
Okay.
In all honesty, not as much as I would like to. Callie's always listen to these podcasts. Listen to I get home at night, I'm like veg out. But I have gone to a lot of the conferences and learned. You know, I always said if I learn one thing, it's worth every read. I mean, it just and I've met so many incredible people. Workrooms all over, which I love sharing. And, you know, people are like, oh, somebody's going to open up a workroom, you know, in Exton. And I'm good. You know, I hope we can learn from each other. I've been really fortunate that I've never felt ever competing. I think there's plenty of work out there.
Yeah.
And when you need to go really look for it, maybe it's time to retire or whatever. But I really, if I'm looking, like I said, with Elke and Janelle, I've learned so much from Janelle. She is just an incredible person. I mean, I can't say.
Talk about the slipcover class here where nobody finished.
Where she had asked me if I would do a slipcover class here, if she could, but could use the workroom. And I was like, sure. I said, Robin and I would love to do one. I never got into slipcovers. We, like I said, upholstered for 5 years. And I think there was 6 of us, and Robin and I were the only ones that finished our chairs. But it was so much fun, and we met other workrooms that Janelle knew of, and so that was great. Books. I have all the Singer books. I bought all the Workroom Digest books and would go through them and
actually, your laptop is sitting on some of your books.
Yeah, I have my laptop sitting. But I mean,
she has all these kinds.
Okay.
Encyclopedia of Window Fashions. You probably read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all of those books.
I guess I really didn't think of that, but yes, if I needed to learn something when I was doing it, I'd have to look in the instructions in the Singer. Remember the volume 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's somewhere behind me right now.
Right? I think Callie's been clearing them out because now you can get them online. You don't have to have a book. But the conferences, I'd have to say, were the best thing for me. I love sitting in the classes and just learning different techniques. And a lot of times I'd be like, oh, that's how I do it. That's how I do it. But then, that's a different way. Right. So I am looking forward to going with Callye. I sent her last year. She went with Janelle, which was great. And just like the child safety, I have to say those cordless spring, all those different, I haven't really found one that I'm loving.
Okay.
So I'm hoping I find something there.
All right. So I'm curious about the things in your business that are important to you. What 3 items could you not live without in your workroom?
Well, of course, my sewing machine. But it is funny, when I was doing costumes, I did costumes, and my son was in a lot of plays. So I did them when he was in middle school and high school. And like I said, that's where I met Robin and another woman named Diane. And we ran the costumes for all the kids in that every play. And the first thing I brought one time when we were making them, I brought in my serger. And I mean, they were like my new best friends. They just were, are you kidding me? We can use this instead of, stitching.
Yeah.
Didn't fray. And I mean, costumes are a whole different thing. Yes. Everybody's, well, I can make costumes. And I'm like, right, but window treatments are totally different. You have to be precise. Costumes, you don't. So they just thought that was the best thing. Then I bought my first do-fix iron. And I told them, and I was so excited. And they're like, an iron? Really? And then they came to my shop one day and were like, oh my gosh. So I'd say those are my three.
Okay.
The sewing machine, the serger, and the iron, which serger and
but they're separate machines. They definitely have different jobs.
Straight stitch versus the serger, which cuts it and frays it. But
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll add on scissors.
Okay.
Good sharp scissors.
Good sharp scissors.
I love my stapler. I use it to staple our labels to the fabrics.
Yeah.
And swatches to the work orders and all. So I love my stapler. And it's a little compact mini one. It's really cute. And the phone.
Oh, yes. Where would we be without the phones?
Those are my phone. In the workroom.
Okay.
And you probably get that from everybody. I'd love to hear somebody that has something different.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like it goes in waves, and the phone has been something that everybody has said recently, but then there's one or two things that in their workroom that just really makes a difference in their lives. There have been a couple unusual answers.
When I first started, I was cutting on the floor.
Yeah.
So the work table was my dad made me my first work table. And then when I moved in here, he made me 3 more.
Yeah.
So the work table was.
Yeah, that's a good one. And you have a big one. Some people only have a smaller size. So we have I think ours goes up to 240.
Yeah. My first work table was the craft table from Joanne Fabrics, where the side you pulled the legs and the table came up, and then I put my cutting board on top of it. Yeah, that lasted about a month.
I had one that was a ping pong table that was made into a work table. It's funny, all the different stories you probably will hear that people did.
All right. So these next question, I'm going to ask you each about yourself, and then I'm going to ask the other one to answer it for me. So, Mary, what do you do extremely well?
In the workroom? No, in general, in life?
Whatever comes to mind for you.
Oh.
You'll get to answer for her in a minute, Callye.
I mean, what we've been talking about, I think what I do extremely well is sewing. I mean, that's what I could do it 10 hours a day. Okay. I mean, well, I do too. I mean, that's what I would say I can do blindfolded. I mean, no, I couldn't, but I think I do really well compared to a lot of people. I mean, I always say we all have our talents, because people will say, oh, I'm so jealous, you can sew. And I'm like, well, I could never draw blood. Yeah. Like, we all have totally different talents, but I feel like I am good at my job.
Okay.
So
Callye, what do you think your mother does really well?
I think she said it before. She thinks about things before they happen. Like she's always ahead, like one step ahead or two steps ahead, which I guess could be concerning about what's going on in your head that you're always thinking. But I think you always, like, you plan well and you are ahead of your, like you try and
foresee things first. Like if somebody's, I could tell somebody's going to cut fabric and they're looking around. I know to grab the scissors and give it to them.
Yeah.
Where other people might stand there and what did you eat? So, I mean, maybe that is something that I have always done, even at.
And then I would say over like communication and sometimes over communicating with the customers and designers and, just trying to get as much information as possible before and make it right. So,
okay.
And you sew.
Yeah.
Your sewing skills.
Mary, what are you not so good at?
Bookkeeping.
Okay.
I mean, I do it. I've done it. It's getting harder with all the new, like I had to go to QuickBooks Online and I used to be desktop and I wish I was still desktop, but I had to make that conversion. And I just think, every time they do an update, everything changes. Why, where did that come from?
Why can't I do it the way I used to do it?
Right. I can do estimates and do all that. I used to do it in my sleep, but it's more or less I don't want to anymore. I think I just want to sew and learn and what'll help me with that. But yeah, the bookkeeping is the new technology. My kids say, well, Mom, you really need to learn it. And I'm like, nah, no, I really don't. But I probably should. I learn enough to get by.
Okay.
I do Instagram, Facebook, and all that. But that's probably my least favorite.
Okay.
To do.
Callye, what are you really good at?
I don't know. That's fun. I would say that I'm really good at like being creative and thinking of ways to, I guess, problem solve. I always am trying to think of like, oh God, I know, that's a question. I don't know what I'm not good at. I'm good at customer service and I think I am very creative and helping. I'm really good at picking out fabrics and things that go together well. And I love creating like a scheme and even doing like kind of a whole house, not whole entire house with like all the furnishings, but I mean, picking how things can flow from room to room.
Okay.
So that's what I said. That's what I'm good at.
Okay. Mary, what do you think Callye is this exceptionally good at?
Definitely what she just said. She's amazing with the customers. They like working with her. I think they think it's kind of fun too. She's young and, when you're older, you like talking to the younger kids and hearing what they think in that. And it's like she's just helped a woman down in Delaware that she's doing the whole house, and she's helped her with the rods, the rugs, the fabric, the design, and I mean she calls Callye, she's in her 70s, which is just like they're so cute listening to them together. She just loves having Callye and talking to her about things. But she's good with the estimates and that. I mean, she's good with a lot.
Okay. Now the next question.
The next question.
Easier to answer.
One thing, not a list of
one thing.
What are you not so good at, Callye?
Okay, I would say I'm not good at time management. Okay. I'm not good at or also starting something and not always finishing it.
Okay.
So that goes in with time management. Like I have a lot of ideas and I will start the idea and then it won't get done.
Okay.
Um,
I'm vaguely
that-
familiar with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mary, what do you think she's not so good at?
We have lots of Post-it notes. Does that answer the question?
It does.
We have Post-it notes everywhere.
There's this 4-letter
She's got
thing.
phenomenal ideas, but following through with one, like, and it is hard because your mind goes, all over the place. So finishing one thing at a time, like, oh, that's a good idea. Like, then finish that and then move on to the other. That is hard for her.
Okay. But somebody's got to be the idea person, Callye.
So true. So true. And then she learned so much, like with the podcast and everything. We did just start, we got an embroidery machine.
Okay.
So we're learning all that and just having fun doing pillows but our minds, even mine, are going like, well, let's do this. Well, let's do that. And I said, well, why don't we concentrate on just one little piece of it? And it is hard. So, but she's learning.
Okay. So this next question I ask carefully. Mary, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. Well, if my kids keep having kids, I love being a grandmother.
Okay.
I really do. But I love like my friends and traveling and doing things. I'm thinking I probably would still sew maybe a day or two here, or maybe in the winter.
Okay.
Help sewing, because like I said, I love it. I love doing pillows. I love doing all that. I apologize.
That's okay.
Probably retiring, to some extent, but no one really. I try to live day by day, so I'm not a big planner.
Mm-hmm.
I help with my mom and dad a lot, so probably more retired. Okay. Not the pressure that I have these days. Work for Callye.
I was going to say, speaking of pressure, okay, Callye, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah. Well, some weeks it looks like I will be taking it over, and other weeks we're figuring it out, if that's a possibility.
Okay.
But I know that I will still be doing something in this industry.
Okay.
Either way. So, and I hope to be married and having my first kid as well.
5 years.
In 5 years, I think that's a good timeline for me.
Okay.
I'm ready for the ring, but I'm not. We've been together, if you want to know, for 4 years.
Okay. Well, that's how long both of my daughters were with their boyfriends before they became their fiancés. So,
but she gets it from all my family. And he gets it. Like, when are you gonna propose? When are you gonna?
It's got it Sunday.
Yeah, we were all together Sunday. They were all asking them.
But no pressure.
But no pressure, right?
What? I've kind of changed this question around a lot in the last few years. I ask about resiliency. After a little while, I realized you have to be resilient to be in this business or you can't stay in it. But I'm curious, from your standpoint, Mary, what traits would you think someone has to have to be able to be in this business?
Oh, that's a very good question. Especially since I'm looking at resumes right now. And I go back and forth, to be honest with you. I've had people that just sewed clothes and came to work for me and caught on right away. I had others that, I think the hardest thing is the different weights of fabric and the embroidery fabric and the blackout lining and inner lining, trying to go through a blind hemmer. And if you have to hand sew, then it's taking longer. And I used to say that I didn't want a lot of experience because then I could teach them the way we did things. but I just have Grace, who's been with me now since February, and she did work in a workroom for 2 years, and she's 27.
Okay.
And she knew everything. I mean, it was fantastic. I really lucked out, yes, because she can do anything and has ideas that I'm learning. Like, well, we did it this way in our workroom, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. We can do that.
Okay.
Which I'm always learning every day. I always want to learn something new, something different. So right now, I have to say, I just got 4 resumes, and they're all bridal sewers. And I hired one before, and she was good, but hard to learn the different weights and changing the so I mean, I know you can learn anything, but
Well, Seal, didn't you do bridal?
I did. I didn't do gowns. I did bridal headpieces. That was my
Right,
first
headpieces.
business. And it's funny because now I'm making one for my older daughter, and I'm out of practice. And we talked very briefly about me making her wedding gown, and we decided that I was not going to. I haven't made clothes in so long that it isn't the right place for me to start if I'm going to be doing it again. And we found a dress she loved, and I'm paying someone else to do the alterations because I don't do them.
I did the same thing with my daughter, middle daughter. I didn't want, everybody's like, why don't you make her dress?
It's a whole different set of skills.
And let somebody else do the alterations, and it was
it's
perfect.
Dress we don't need.
Right. Have enough to do when your daughter's getting married.
Yeah. Callye, I'm curious what traits you see as important to becoming into this industry.
I guess just being able to be like proactive, and kind of just trying to like wanting to learn as much as you can, but also kind of like having to realize you have to make decisions or just like do something at some point, and like just kind of like taking action. I know this is a hard question.
It is.
But I think being proactive is like, I've noticed with some people that have come in here, it's kind of just like, they're just kind of like looking, watching, and I'm like, okay, you can tell that I need something in this moment. Like maybe go grab it. Like
right.
I don't want to sound rude, but like
take some initiative. Yeah.
Yes, take some initiative, I think. And I know I struggle with that sometimes too. I'm like, oh, why didn't I just get this for you? Like, but I think that too, and
excitement.
Yeah, just
that's a trait
and liking it.
That's what I haven't really found in someone. I think like of all the other people I hired through all the years, were kind of had an excitement to them about like how things looked or how things turned out, or look at how nice this stitched, or
it doesn't take much. We get excited very easily in this industry.
Right. And like Grace, I mean, she'll come out and I don't know, you said you watched our video where we have the crank that goes up that we mark for the hems, and she'll say, you want to come see how this looks? And I love it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I think. I mean, that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I wish I thought of that first.
Yeah.
Someone being passionate about liking the fabrics and enjoying seeing the finished product and not just kind of like churning it out.
Right.
I went to one of the classes at the conference, and we each got, and it was like a little hoop, and it had a hook on it, so like you could get the cord out of the cord locks. And I mean, I came out of there and we had met a bunch of people, and I was like, look what I got. I felt like I was on Oprah. We all got one. I mean,
you get a looper. You get a looper.
Robin and I used to get so excited just to find a new tool or a new, that's what I would love to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody's ever expressed that before. And I think that's probably what most of us are looking for if we do want someone to work with us. And it's what we experience when we go to the conference or we go to WCAA meetings and we get to be in each other's company where we see that excitement over things,
Excitement.
a way to grab the
Absolutely.
cord.
You know, when you're watching the DoFix demonstration and you're like, oh, wow, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get
Exactly.
that. Or, you know, it's so much fun. And I miss that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's lacking is, you know, when you're sitting looking at fabrics and you're like, oh, this feels so good.
Yes.
Oh, this one's gorgeous. That's
Yeah.
what in the workroom with the drapes and that is what I'm missing.
Yeah. Well, Mary,
So-
I think it's amazing that after all these years, you still have that passion for it because a lot of times it's kind of like, yeah, I'm over this. I'm done being excited about it. But I love that you are still excited.
Yeah, not too long ago, there was a workroom in Havertown, and she asked me if I would come and train a couple of the girls,
Mhm.
and I did. And it's like, wow, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
Because they were interested in, like, how do you cut the bulk out in the top
Yeah.
of the box pleat of valance, and how do you? So that was fun. So maybe, you know, someday I'll do that teaching. I don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
as much as I hate to end this interview, you two have been very patient and have spent a lot of time with me. You're on Instagram and Facebook?
Yes, our Instagram, which I do,
Okay.
is at Phillips Window Workroom.
Okay.
And our Facebook is just Phillips Window Workroom.
Okay.
And our website, phillipswindowworkroom.com.
All right. I'll put links to all of that in the show notes for people who.
Our website, that's something I need to work on, but the Instagram is like my pride and joy.
Okay.
And if you're ever in this area, get some workrooms together and meet here.
Absolutely.
We'd love you to come visit us.
I'm going to make it a point because you're really not that far. I'd have to make a day of it, but you're really not that far from me. So,
Yeah.
But I would really love to come visit. Thank you both so much for
Thank you.
today. I really appreciate it.
Fun.
It was a lot of
We
fun.
definitely do have long answers to some work questions. So.
That's okay. That's why we do this. All right. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I so thoroughly enjoyed talking with Mary and Callye and hearing their story. The dynamic between mother and daughter can sometimes be a little bit challenging. And I really appreciate that they were both so honest about there are some struggles in being able to run a business together. And yet they clearly love each other and have fun doing what they're doing. As I said, I'm impressed and intrigued by the fact that after over 40 years, Mary still enjoys and is still passionate and loves to do what she does and would still rather be doing the fabrication and let the running of the business go to someone else. I can relate to that for her. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Mary and Callye today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.